Good afternoon and good morning to some of you. We still see the number of attendees adding up, so I'll wait a few seconds for them to join, and then we'll get started. Okay. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. My name is Rob Vogelzang, and I will present this webinar on practical issues that a digital adoption platform can solve. I'm being assisted by my colleague Gianluca, who will show some live demo of our product. Thanks all for joining. We also have in the panel the possibility to download some handouts, like the digital adoption solution checklist, and there's a fact sheet, and you can also download our newsletter if you like. Afterwards, we will also make some videos available about this webinar and also some product videos. So we will send you an email with that. So today we are going to talk about a Nuwired and the challenges and the problems that you can solve with a digital adoption solution. So we will talk about what is a digital solution, how can it help me, what should I be looking for when choosing a digital adoption solution. My name is Rob Vogelzang. I am Vice President of Business Development at Nuwired, and I want to explain the need for a digital adoption platform from the customer's point of view. So I talk with customers every day, and for this webinar, I actually made an inventory of all the challenges that my customers are facing and the solutions that we have in store for them. So together with Gianluca Ippolito, I will show you some practical examples of Nuwired in action. We will explain how the Nuwired digital adoption solution works, and hopefully we can give you some inspiring ideas with a checklist for choosing a digital adoption solution. So a little bit of background on our company. So Nuwired is a European company, privately held. We have headquarters in Turin, Italy, and our R&D is happening in the Czech Republic. So the founders of Nuwired have a background in application lifecycle management software for regulated markets such as mechatronics, pharma, automotive, aerospace. And as you may know, innovation in IT is often driven from three directions. So there's science, sourced from universities and research labs. And science discovers problems that we didn't even know we had or will have. Second, there's the software engineering itself. Software developers figure out smart ways to solve a problem, and new innovations come from unexpected disciplines like, for instance, gaming or artificial intelligence. And the third source are the users who have ideas and challenges where they seek solutions for. So they call tech support to the problem and often inspire us with their ideas. So today we will be focusing on the customer standpoint and how we respond to their questions. So digital adoption is booming at the moment. There's a lot of interest, a lot of companies investing in digital adoption. So where is this driven from? And it really has to do with the fact that the digital technology is advancing exponentially. And companies struggle to keep up with that. Digital adoption has become a must. Many IT projects fail because there's not enough support for new people to work with new systems. Systems are not used in the right way, not efficiently enough. So companies, organizations are investing in training, and constant training is a must. You always train people with the latest technologies, the latest updates. And also there's an ongoing battle for user acquisition, meaning that vendors really need to improve the user experience of their applications in order to find new customers and keep existing customers. So what kind of smart solutions do we have for that? So if you look at this curve here, this learning curve, this is a normal thing to happen. So you introduce a new software or you add new staff, and you teach them how to use your IT system. So the learning curve goes up, but then after a while, people forget or they don't do certain tasks very often. So you need to retrain after a while. And then what often happens is there is a user software update, something changes in the system, and the knowledge level drops down again. So this learning curve is really going up and down all the time. Now, with digital adoption, we strive to keep the learning curve at the same level always, by always having knowledge at hand, where we can show support for certain tasks that people forget how to do it. And this is what digital adoption is all about and what we're going to show you today. So if digital adoption is a solution, what are the issues really? Now, as I said in the beginning, I made a little inventory of challenges that my customers deal with. So one of the most heard challenges is the onboarding of new staff members. You hire new staff, they need to learn not only the company, their tasks, but also their IT systems. So this is where a lot of effort is being put on. Another issue is the migration of staff to new software. So you introduce a new software system. It might be an international system with different languages. And this is also a challenge. Another challenge is e-learning materials, because every time a system is being updated or being replaced or being extended, e-learning materials tend to lag behind. So they become obsolete, not up to date. And that is a big challenge, I would say, for customers nowadays. We talked about this forget effect. You do classroom training, but after a while, people simply forget how to do things. And then there's the effective use of business applications. Some systems are not used at all or not in the right way. And you really want to support your people how to use certain processes, certain IT solutions. Another challenge is the quality of the data entered. So people need to be educated what kind of data they actually enter into the system. If they use, for instance, the right format for telephone numbers or order numbers or project descriptions. Then you often have new versions. Why should I use this new version? What is better compared to the old version? What extensions did developers make in this new version? And then we're talking about the user experience of software. How easy is it for people to find their way in a web shop or in an online HR system? Another interesting aspect of digital adoption is reducing the number of help desk calls. A nice example is a customer of ours who has a very large staff worldwide, about 25,000 people. And they use an HR system from Workday. And every year, about 10% of those 25,000 people call tech support with the question how to check the number of holidays I have on my balance, because it's difficult to find in Workday, and it is something that you look at maybe once or twice a year. So by offering a digital adoption solution, you can really avoid these help desk calls, and that saves an enormous amount of time, money, but also frustration. Shorter calls with help desk and colleagues, especially in COVID times, you don't have your colleague sitting next to you because a lot of people work from home. So who's there to help you figuring out how to get through a certain system? And then there's of course the challenge of guiding visitors on your external websites, especially with web shops. Another aspect that I hear a lot, especially from pharmaceuticals and regulated industries, is that it's often difficult to guide staff through complex regulated procedures. They need to go through it step by step. And again, digital adoption is a solution here. One other interesting aspect what we hear a lot nowadays is that companies, organizations simply don't have enough development capacity to create better help systems or to create user guidance for their systems. Now, what we see is that a lot of companies now move from software developers to instructional designers, people who understand the process better, have a good understanding of educational values and educational processes. And if you use a digital adoption solution that doesn't require any coding or any software development, then these instructional designers can actually create user guidance that is not only pleasant to work with, but it also has a very good educational background. And finally, what we hear a lot from customers is that they already have quite a big knowledge base, but it's really difficult to offer the content of that knowledge base to the users because it's hard to find. It's really a lot of videos and PDFs and GIFs and audio. And so with a digital adoption solution, you can actually offer specific knowledge-based content at the exact right moment because it's a context-sensitive system. So let's look at the more brighter side of things. What do we have installed for those organizations? So, like I already said, there's a really easy to use journey editor. We call those user guides. We call that journeys within NuWire. And you can make those journeys without coding, without scripting, without developing. We will show that in the demo later. So a new function that we have added to the 22.0 version is playbooks. And playbooks is really a sequence of journeys that guide a new user through the process of learning a new system, a new IT solution or new software. And these playbooks, they create a complete new dimension in online learning and in-app learning. We will have a look at that later as well. Version control, very important to keep track of the right versions that are being published. And this has to do also with the user guidance that you make with NuWire. This user guidance, it evolves over time, and a good version control management system is really important to keep track of the latest improvements. You can actually roll back if it appears that user guidance is not better than before. So version control is quite an important aspect. Then there's a robustness of journeys. What we mean with robustness is really the reliability of journeys, that they don't break, that they keep working, also after an update of your software. And we actually developed an interesting algorithm that keeps track of the fields on your screen. So if there is a change in your software, so the order of fields changes, the NuWire solution will still follow those fields around the screen. It knows where to point at. There's the aspect of privacy. GDPR, local cookies. NuWire does not have any local cookies. We do not record names of users. Everything is being kept anonymous. So the NuWire has a very high privacy standard by design. And the next aspect is also interesting, especially for regulated industries. We offer our New Wired server to be installed on premise, so behind the firewall of the customer, if that is necessary. And it happens, especially with government, with aerospace and defense companies. They like to have the server on premise. So there is support for multiple languages. So if you have users in different regions, we have a mechanism that can translate or support the translation of your journeys into French, into Chinese, into Japanese, and whatever language. And we use the XLIF format for that. Another aspect is the export of journeys into a Word document. So once you have a nice set of user journeys, it will be possible to actually export that in a Word document. So you can store it in your document management system, but you can also use it for digital authorization and signatures. If you need people to sign off for these user journeys, documentation export is really helpful for that. Another aspect of New Wired is the cross-application support, meaning that you can actually support multiple web applications at the same time. So if you need, for instance, to change from SAP to Salesforce and back, the journeys can actually follow that. So, and it is even possible to start new applications from a journey. So if you would need to go from one application to the next, the New Wire journeys can actually start that new application if needed. Another very nice aspect of the New Wired digital adoption solution is the fact that you can adapt journeys to your own corporate style, so your own colors and fonts. You can add GIFs, you can add nice graphics to make it look more agreeable for users. In many cases, our customers were actually able to create journeys that looked exactly like the underlying application. So that is something that is also very important for user acceptance. So this whole process of reviewing journeys, approving journeys, publishing and deploying journeys to a live situation is being managed from a central portal. This is also something that we can show on later in this during this webinar. So I listed all the challenges here on the y-axis and the solutions that we have on the x-axis here. So if everything goes well, all aspects of digital adoption are being covered by New Wired. But for the sake of saving some time, I want to zoom in on one specific aspect, for instance, the onboarding, because that is being reported as one of the most, well, common reasons for starting in a digital adoption platform. So for onboarding, what is really important is that your journeys are robust. And for onboarding, also this playbook facility could be really interesting. So just to give you a flavor of how that would look in practice, I would now like to give the word to Gianluca so that Gianluca can show you an example of this. Is that okay, Gianluca?
Thank you, Rob. Yes, I'll share my screen. Hello, everybody. Yeah, so let's get the show going, and I will start sharing my screen. So what you see today is going to be something, a demo which is very simple, but is engrossing all the concept that can be applied on onboarding capabilities for New Wired over any kind of product. So let's suppose that right now I am an end user, and this is my first time coming to this CRM. How would I interact with the system? I can simply click on the help and have my launcher started, And over here, you can see that we have a wide choice of journeys that we can actually start through, or we could follow the playbooks. Playbooks are intended to be categories or a set of journeys that can really onboard you through the system or cover any specific topic. So you can see that the getting started is actually having me first do the auto login. Of course, I need to get inside of the system before being able to do the rest. So I can simply start this and the journey will start right through. So I'm able to being guided here and simply type my username, my password, and click on login. So quite easy journey, but I'm inside of the system now and it welcomes me back. So when I open this again, I can see that now I have other journeys available and I can simply be guided into the rest of it. I can also keep track of what I'm doing by marking these as done myself or by simply just doing the journey, following the journey correctly. So I can go ahead and do also my overview. The overview idea is to simply remind the user or illustrate the user which are the areas of interest into the system so that it can start getting the hang of the product and therefore getting, of course, onboarded. So I will highlight these items here, our dashboard and what's going to be inside of the dashboard and the possibilities of personalization, and also show some of the buttons. You can see that I'm able already to interact with some drop downs so that it shows me what actions I'm able to do from here. So our next journey instead of a playbook would be how to create a new account. And I can start that to click create. And as you can see, as I'm following through, this will feel very natural for the user to follow the list through the playbooks. Of course, it doesn't really need to necessarily go through the journeys itself, but it can really help from the aspect of getting onboarded onto the system to have this set of sequential journeys that it can go through. So yeah, right now I'll simply put my name, click on save, and I will be done with my getting started. And you can imagine, you can see now I can go back and I will have my getting started done. So mark this done. I can also share this with my colleagues to track my progress onto the system. Of course, I will be able to go back and play again my journeys anytime I want, but this enables me to have the categories, a specific set of categories to follow through. So Rob, this was Playbooks. I get the word back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, I'm back with the screen here. Thank you, Gianluca. That was really really helpful. If you have any questions for me or Gianluca or in general, just use the questions panel that you have in your GoToWebinar control panel. So next aspect of digital adoption. Let's look into a little bit this data quality aspect. Spoke about it before. NuWide actually is context sensitive. So although our application does not touch on the underlying application, so it's for us it's like an interactive overlay technology, but we can see what your users enter and if they enter the right information into that field. So for data quality, it's really good that you can make those journeys without coding. And it's important also to export the documentation of your journeys. So to the second part of our presentation, For our product demonstration, I would like to ask Gianluca to show an example of how data quality can be secured on your applications. So, Gianluca,
Yes.
can you take over the presentation again?
Yes, sure. So let's go back to that same demo, and I'll show you a nice feature that really ensures that every kind of aspect for each type of user is covered into your guidance. So here we are back again to the environment. I want to show you that right now on my launcher I have a status, and you can see the current experience selected is a newcomer. So by having this, which by the way can be chose, the user can choose itself the different levels that he wants to get, could be a nice way to modulate also the strength of guidance and assistance or automated assistance for the different types of users that you have on your in your environment or in your target application. This is because there may be some user which really wants to it may be that it's the first time coming into the system and therefore would be a newcomer. And for newcomers, what makes sense perhaps is that as soon as I get into the system, let me log out here. As soon as I get into the system, the journey how to log in starts automatically, or I could, as soon as I log in, I could have another journey start, which is the CRM overview that we just saw, so that we are really pushing through the content for the users. But of course, this kind of automated journeys, such as login or the overview, may not be as useful for users that have already some knowledge of the system. And therefore, maybe for if I switch to a proficient experience, then this automation for journeys will not happen. So I get inside of the system, but there is no autoplay anymore. This is a simple example to show that you can really customize the experience, not only with the autoplay that we see in this case, but it can really be also on exposures of tips that we have additional information on the screen, or different set of journeys, different set of playbooks that you want to expose to new people, or more complex journeys that you only want to show to some more expert user. Um, the same concept for these experience levels could also be applied to roles. This is very interesting because not only you could define the expertise level of a user, but you could also specify, which by the way, these are customizable, each of your user type on that uses the system, so that you may want to create tailored experiences for your sales or for your customer service, etc. So that really gets customized to what the user needs based on his type of job or experience. And that's it for the data quality. I think that covers pretty much that. So I'll give the presenter back to you, Rob.
Okay, thank you very much, Gianluca. So let's look at the the numbers that we hear from our customers. So in average, we hear that about 53% of training costs are being saved if you introduce a nice digital adoption solution like New Wired. And this has mainly to do with the follow-up courses, the rehearsals, the forgetting factor in this classroom training. Also, there's 20% increase in user interaction within 6 months. So people use the product more efficiency, and users simply achieve a higher performance with the systems. And also what we hear a lot is that the knowledge base is being used much more than before, because in these journeys that Gianluca showed, you can also include videos that come from your knowledge base. We can include explanations in PDF, GIFs, audio recordings, all kinds of media that can be added to those journeys. And that is the big the big advantage of that is that it's actually being offered at the moment when users need it. So we have come to the question and answer part of this presentation. So I'll just open up the panel and see what questions you ask. You mentioned that you can make journeys without coding. How does that work in practice? Okay, so that indeed is a really interesting aspect of Nuwire, that you can build journeys without writing codes or scripting. Maybe Gianluca, do you have a nice example at hand that you can show how you can make journeys?
Yes, we can. So let's go quickly into the editor and have a very simple journey drawn out so that you can see how easy it is to create content. So this is going to be this was the environment, right? So this what you see is the simple browser. What I'll do now is that I will use the standalone application which NewWire offers, that in which we are able to create some content. So I'll simply click the plus button and add new journey here. So I'll just give it a name, and then to simply make some new content, I will need to add a new step, attach it to the screen, and as you can see, the selector here is also indicating me where I can attach it. And I simply drag it and start typing. Maybe type here is also fine. So I can just go ahead and click to the other one, select my transition. So edit input because I want the user to start typing and go through. Also here, I want to move it here, confirm my changes. And our final step would be click on login. So I'm also fine with this. So I just confirm the changes. And already, this is a very simple way to do it, but it's really showing you how simple the journeys can become into the really basic interaction for the user. I'm going through my journey here, and I'm able to being guided into, of course, the simple login. But let's suppose that now I want to take my journey here and bring it live. What do I need to do for that? I will need to mark my journey as active and then publish this to my new content, to my a new version, which is going to be live. So as I click these two, in really literal two clicks, I'm able to go inside of the browser, and when I open my launcher, I am able to see my new journey, which is going to be available for my end users. And it's going to work, as you see, just a very simple 3 steps journeys. But in less than 5 minutes, I took a process, made the guidance, and also published it live. Back to you, Rob.
Yeah, in the meantime, Gianluca, I get another question from the panel.
Yeah.
One of the participants is asking, how can I customize the triangle? I guess what she means is the little green triangle there in the
Yeah,
corner.
so this is a very good question. As we are able to change the themes really based on essentially any color scheme so that it fits both not only the target application but maybe you would like to have colors set to that follow the company color palette. We are able to customize the launcher in the theme. So it may be ugly for you to have a triangle, or it simply may be overlapping some item below. By doing this, we're simply like, we could have a circle, we could have a square, we could have any other icon that really fits your target application, and it doesn't necessarily need to be in one of the corners, but it can also be placed anywhere in the page. So we could have the launcher, for example, here as a question mark. I could click here and see my launcher. Therefore, there is really no limitation in what we can also get from the customization point of view inside of uh, the triangle too. As for obviously the themes.
Okay. One other question that I got is if we can check on the data that is being entered into fields, if that falls, I guess what they mean is if it falls within a certain value, or if you if you, for instance, enter a phone number or a zip code in a certain area that that it can only be like a US zip code or a US state. Is that something that because we do check on the values that are being entered, right?
Yeah, so we have a way to make tips appear under some specific condition, which one of the cases may be that we are actually checking the content that the user is putting. So we are actually creating validation tips. A very simple case would be, maybe I'm typing an email address and I don't want the users to use their personal email, but I want to at gmail.com. So if I do this, or if I on some reason is not working. Okay. Anyhow, we are able to read. Yeah, you see, it just had time to load. So in this case, the system is checking whether I'm using anything but Gmail, and if I'm putting some work, some personal email, it will have me have the tip pop up to say please add a work email. Or in the case of country, maybe I want to ask the user that the state is going to be mandatory if I type USA. And you can also see that the tip can also appear on another item on the screen which is not contextual to this specific box. Of course, in order to make this, we have some rules to prompt in our editor over here that can really have it appear based on those specific conditions. And sorry for the lag, it could be that my internet connection is not good.
Okay. In the meantime, one of our participants asked about the exported journey documentation. How does the exported journey documentation look like? Can it replace a full training documentation? That's an interesting question.
So, okay, I can answer that. We have a way to export content. Usually, the idea behind exporting content to something which is external, as you can see here, I'm just downloading the version that we just published together, is a way to review all of the content for some people which is not perhaps able to access directly the system, or it doesn't have a PC under your hand, so you can actually print this off and check it. As you can see, this will contain all of the journeys that I have available for my end users live, with also the screenshots. So I can review the style, text, or even languages, the different languages over my my export. So yeah, it will not have the direct interaction with the system, but I can get a very good idea on how all of the guidance can be working onto my system from the exports.
Okay, so if you want to have journeys translated into other languages, you could use this document to get a sense of the context where the text is actually being used. But you can also see step by step how journeys work, and you can um, um, agree with them or not. So it's really also checking the quality of journeys that this is meant for.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Okay. Good. Well, this more or less concludes our webinar for today. This is all we have time for. We really wanted to give you a short introduction of New Wired, all the aspects that we cover. So, like I said, you have the possibility to download some handouts, and if you're interested to have a more specific demo based on your situation, you might be a Polarion user or an SAP user or a Salesforce user. We have demos for all those environments. So if you would like to see that in action, we can always schedule a demo call with you and see if this solution would fit your needs. So my phone number and email address is on this slide. And thanks a lot for your questions. That was really good. Thanks for your attention today, and hopefully we will speak again soon.